Good morning, everyone. This is a beautiful sunny day here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is our first mail day video since MagicCon 30 a couple weeks ago. We did record a number of PSA mail days and box openings on the channel that are being uploaded the last week or two. And so we're recording this one after those ones, and it'll get uploaded after you see all the box opening videos. But we're catching up on mail, so we've got 3 packages today that we'll go through, kind of inventory for you, and then we'll make a couple subsequent videos to go into a few of these packages more detail. This package at the bottom has some Premodern cards in it, so we're going to actually attempt to make a Premodern deck. This package has some graded cards in it that are kind of interesting, that are also related to Premodern. And then this package is just one signed card that we picked up to go with our Arabian Nights sign set. We're using the Library of Alexandria playmat today, signed by Mark Poole, that we got at MagicCon Minneapolis. And so if we can get this package open, just like that. There should just be one card in here today. Yes. So we did a little research on the camel, if you recall. The camel card from Arabian Nights was allegedly printed in light and dark variants. Somebody pointed that out when we looked at our signed Arabian Nights set. And so we're doing a little research on camels this month. So this is an Arabian Nights camel. It's signed at the bottom in gold by Sandra Everingham. It's a pretty sweet card. And then we'll have to take a loop to look at the casting cost to see if it is light or dark. But I think it's not noticeable by the naked eye. But I'm happy to add this signed camel to our signed collection. So we'll at least have 2 copies of camel signed in case there are variants. But we might make another video when we look at Arabian Nights cards again. So for today, we're just gonna put the camel in Alexandria up in the clouds here. And then the second package was from 4 Sharp Corners, and they primarily sell sports cards. I've purchased some sports cards from them before, and they do sell a lot of graded cards. So they grade a ton of cards. They grade a lot of the cards that may not be worth submitting to PSA on your own because they may not be super expensive. But they'll grade them usually for like set collecting. I like using 4 Sharp Corners, so you can pick up some of the smaller cards you need for your graded sets in PSA holders. And they do primarily PSA. So this, but for whatever reason, I saw something maybe in their weekly email or on eBay that they were consigning some Magic cards. And that's something that they typically don't really do a lot of, Magic the Gathering graded cards. So we checked out their site, we searched for non-sports cards, and they had about 56 graded Magic cards on the site. And so we can turn the ring light off today. It's pretty sunny. So they had about 56 graded Magic cards in PSA holders. The cert numbers are pretty high, 6975, 6802. So they must have been graded recently. And it looks like somebody graded a bunch of cards that were from like Urza's Saga, Urza's Legacy, all the way up to Exodus maybe. M15, they had like the core set, 15 basic lands. So I'm not sure why anybody would grade a lot of those cards, but they did. And so they were looking to sell most of those for like $30, which was pretty obnoxious. But the 2 cards that we did find, we're gonna do a quick discussion on. One of them is, I find interesting. It says, if you look closely, the label says it's a 1993 Magic the Gathering Unlimited Timberwolves in PSA 10, but it has the white borders, but it's much darker in saturation, and there's a 1995 copyright at the bottom, so that means it's a 4th edition card that was incorrectly graded as unlimited. And according to the PSA populations, there's 6 unlimited PSA 10 Timberwolves, so I believe this is probably the only one that's a 4th edition card that was graded incorrectly. So there are really only 5 PSA 10 unlimited Timberwolves, and this is the only copy that's 4th edition. I'm going to share this with the PSA BGS error group on Facebook. They like mislabeled cards and cards that were put in the wrong holders, so that's kind of cool. I'll add that to my collection. I have one other Alpha Beta Circle of Protection Red that was mislabeled, so we'll just add that to the collection. And then the second card they had was this Keeper of the Mind Gem Mint 10. This is a population 1 of 1. It's also the only copy of Keeper of the Mind that is graded by PSA, so it's probably a 50-cent card. It's an uncommon from Exodus that was printed in 1998. And the reason I picked it up is because I was going to make a Premodern deck based on the art of Matthew Wilson, who drew this card. This card is iconic because it was censored by Wizards of the Coast. Originally, the image he drew was much bigger, and you could see more of her lower body, maybe like her knees were showing, so that was kind of considered questionable to Wizards of the Coast. So they cropped the image to what you see here on this card, and that is what they printed. So he drew a number of cards in this pre-modern era, so I decided I would pick up a bunch of those and try to make a deck out of Matthew Wilson pre-modern cards. So that's the second card in the mail day. The third package is actually 2 orders in one that we got from ABU Games. They combined them into one package. But primarily pre-modern in this order. Sticker. Oh, it's got square corners on the sticker. I don't know if that's that's error or if that's a new design. Normally the stickers have the alpha corners on them, but today they are square cut for all the square cut collectors out there. Okay, so this was the first card in the first order that we got. It's an Alpha Mountain in mint condition. We're gonna put this in our Alpha 60 deck. Since we put some alphas in our Alpha 40 deck, some mountains in our Alpha 40 deck this month, that's gonna go in Alpha 60. I also picked up this Death Ward. It was signed by Dan Frazier. But if you recall, the art is actually Mark Poole, right down there. So we'll take this card to Vegas and get Mark Poole to double sign it on the card. We also have some more Dominaria Remastered Islands and a Worldly Tutor retro frame as well. Sweet. Okay, so these are all the pre-modern cards that we are going to build our decks with. We got some, these are the Keepers of the Mind that Keepers of the Mind to play with. 2 blue, you pay a blue and tap to draw a card, and you can play this ability only if target opponent has at least 2 or more cards in hand than you. It's also a 1/2 wizard. So we're gonna kind of build around this card. Then the other cards that he drew were Rhea, Dawnbringer, and this is from Invasion, it looks like. So that's a good card. Spirit Weaver, you can tell clearly has a style of kind of these angels, these figures. Wizards. Washout was a pretty good card we picked up. It's more of like a dinosaur from Invasion. And you return all permanents of the color of your choice to their owner's hand. Put that there. These cards are pretty cool. I'll show you these in a sec in more detail. Masked Gorgon is a creature from Judgment. 5/5 for 5 mana. Also got Vile Deacon. So I think the deck we're gonna make is gonna be mostly red, white, and blue. But I picked up some extra cards that we can use to play with and perhaps sideboard with. But this is Chris Mage. We picked up 4 copies of Chris Mage. It's from Mercadian Masks. It's a 1/1 creature. You pay a red and tap and discard a card from your hand, and it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Remosian Captain, we got 1 of these. Pacifism, we picked up a playset of Pacifisms. This looks like a good card. Enchanted creatures can't attack or block. Again, another angel that you can tell clearly Matthew Wilson art there. Joel Real, Empress of the Beasts. She's riding like a tiger. It's also a legendary spell shaper. Very cool. This is the card we probably would play with if we were doing like a commander deck. It's Corona False God. 1 colorless plus Wooburg. So for 6 mana it has haste. It's a 5/5 legendary creature. Very cool. Soul Collector. This I believe is from Legions or Scourge maybe. Heat of Battle is from Stronghold. It's an enchantment. We have Avenging Angel. That's just epic card. 3/3 flyer. And Selenia Dark Angel. Could be a potential EDH card. Censorship. This was printed in unglued. This is actually the part of the art of Keeper of the Mind that was not used in the photo in this card. So Wizards was making fun of the fact that they like censored their own artists. They made a card about it, and they printed that in unglued. So then I picked up 4. This is Urza's Destiny set. These are rare. Rain, Academy Chancellor, 2 colorless and a blue. It's a wizard legend. Whenever you or a permanent you control is the target of a spell or ability controlled by one of your opponents, you may draw a card. So classic Matthew Wilson art there. Love it. We have Yavimaya Enchantress, kind of like a Verdurn Enchantress, but it's also Urza's Destiny. This is an uncommon druid for 2/2, and it gets 1/1 for every enchantment in play. I think that includes your opponent's side enchantment. So we got a play set of those. Then we got some lands. We picked up 2 blasted landscapes. Matthew Wilson didn't do a lot of the lands, so we just picked up some playable Premodern lands that we'll use in the deck. Urza Saga had a ton of cycling lands, so we're going to pick up as many of those as possible. Blasted Landscape is the first one. It adds colorless and it has cycling for 2, which lets you, if you pay the 2 colorless and discard this card from your hand, you draw another card. So that is sort of like a draw engine that gets going if you have enough cards with cycling. Put that up by the lands. We also have 3 copies of Drifting Meadow. Drifting Meadow comes into play tapped. It adds white to your mana pool. It's an uncommon from Urza Saga, and it also has cycling, so you can pay 2. The cool cards that we got, we'll save those for last, I think. This is the last of the lands, I believe. We picked up probably enough lands to make a deck out of, and then we'll end the video. There's the 4th Drifting Meadow. We also got 4 forests from Urza Saga. Just adds green to your mana pool. We have 4 islands. This adds blue to your mana pool. 4 mountains for red. 4 plains for white. 4 polluted mires that add black and also have cycling. 4 remote isles that add blue, also have cycling. So very affordable lands. Seasoned Marshal, Matthew Wilson art. Whenever this Seasoned Marshal attacks, you may tap target creature. Slippery Karst adds green to your mana pool, also has cycling. Smoldering Crater adds red to your mana pool, also has cycling. Swamps adds black to your mana pool. Telepathy was Matthew Wilson. This is a single blue enchantment, uncommon from Urza Saga, that each of your opponents play with her hand revealed. Worn Power Stone is an artifact from Urza Saga. When it comes into play tapped and adds 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. So it's sort of like a Soul Ring for 3 that comes into play tapped. And then Daze was also by Matthew Wilson. I couldn't find any in the regular set, so I picked up 4 copies in the gold bordered championship edition. But for 1 colorless and a blue, you may return an island you control to its hand instead of paying the casting cost, and it counters the target spell unless the controller pays a colorless mana. So it's a pretty good counter spell. We got another Worldly Tutor, so that makes me play set of those. Silver Seraph is another Matthew Wilson art. It's an angel, just iconic angel art there. And so the last few cards we picked up a playset of Urza's Rage, which was a really great instant. It's signed by somebody, and I don't know, it's definitely not signed by Matthew Wilson. But if you know, let me know in the comments. I'm guessing it's a player because it's signed in ballpoint, but it could be like Ralph Piglet, looks like Ralph Piglet. If you know any players that perhaps their initials are RP, this could be the card that they put in their deck. And we did pick up a play set of these, so they were in damaged condition because they were signed by, looks kind of like Dan Frazier, but it's actually probably not Dan Frazier. So if you know, let me know in the comments. We'll figure it out. But there's a play set of these. I think they were like 50 cents a piece, but Urza's Rage is a really good card. So we're definitely gonna play that. It's a rare from Invasion, so we'll definitely play that in our Premodern deck. We'll put the deck together in another video so you can see what that deck looks like. The last 2 cards, Herald of Sarah, Urza Saga Rare by Matthew Wilson. And the last but not least, 7th edition foil, Sarah Advocate. These rares are really hard to find. And it's the foil with the shooting star. Has a little bit of clouding and play wear, so it's in played condition, but still very cool art there by Matthew Wilson. This is the beginning of the Matthew Wilson Premodern deck. Let me know what you think in the comments, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see how this deck plays out. We'll try to get some action this weekend or next weekend with the deck, and we'll let you know how it does. So thanks everybody, have a great day, and catch you in the next video.